Hi, this is Adam Asnes from Lingoport, here with our pre-recorded LocWorld presentation. I'm here with Rob Thomas, a longtime customer, but has sort of bridged from customer to friend. He is a force with FamilySearch, and I'm glad to bring him to everyone here. Rob really stands for a lot of innovation. He moves a large organization, which I'm sure for many of you, you can appreciate. Moving any organization in any direction takes a lot of good energy, a lot of know-how, and positive relationships within that organization. And I think that defines Rob pretty well. Rob, sorry if I'm embarrassing you here. But in any case, we're going to talk today about how his organization is supporting 48 languages. It actually is getting bigger all the time in a very complex application. We're going to go into that, including translation being sourced from both professional translators as well as volunteer communities. And there we go. All right, a little bit about FamilySearch as a product. It actually is its own standalone corporation sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ Worldwide. It very much has a global presence. Global is very important to them. It is a very large genealogical site, so you can research your family history and share that research with your family members. It's also free to use, so if anyone after this session is interested, go ahead, create an account and go find out information. Like a lot of you, a lot of web-delivered applications, there's also, you're not just worried about a browser interface, there's specific code bases for Android and iOS support. So there's a lot of complexity, and it is very important. By the way, I'll just mention that as you can see, that the second screenshot I have of the site is pseudo-localized. It is always pseudo-localized. It's just one of the automations that's in place. They do use our software to do this. Like literally the minute a software engineer does something and changes some UI element, it's pseudo-localized. Nobody has to remember to do it, so they're always testing. That aside, let's talk about where FamilySearch is right now. So you're getting the destination a little bit before the before. They are moving beyond 48 languages of support. Their support of languages is also pretty diverse. It's not just languages that you'd commonly commercially hear of. They have languages support for things like Fijian, Icelandic. There are many, many locales supported here. From a software developer perspective, there are over 240 repositories now automatically being updated. Actually, that number grows almost weekly as they fire off new features in their Git repositories. They are a GitHub user for those of you who are on the development side. They also, like a lot of you face, a little bit of free-range developer activity where there's lots of different file formats depending upon the developer component. Not every development group is going to have a perfect file format, so there are automated transforms that take place. Those of you on the software side know the JSON file formats can be a little bit undefined, a little bit Wild West. We can accommodate for that. All right. Enough of me talking. Rob, why don't you tell us a little bit more of how things are going?
Well, it's a very interesting space to be in, and we do have a great team. And in fact, as you were introducing me, I was thinking, I think a lot of the success that I experienced, perhaps you observe, is really a team effort, and we've got a lot of very interesting things going on. And really the desire is to really reach out and provide a great rich experience for anybody who wants to use the site and help them be able to connect with their family. And this isn't just their ancestors. We find that by doing this type of research, people really connect even with their living family and their children. And it's just really a very positive experience. And I find even that even the perhaps the most difficult person, they have somebody that they love in their family and they want to stay connected to. And we feel like these tools help accomplish that. And that's kind of our focus.
Awesome. All right, good. All right. Now, in terms of translating software, let's just talk a little bit about kind of the before situation. Before, I mean, you had some automation, but you probably were in the situation that a lot of our localization brethren are. Some of them are still in on the software side. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. That's a good point. Translation has been with us as long as there's been people on the planet, and we've really, when we a number of years ago, I think it's been 8-9 years ago, we were in a situation where, as much as there was a lot of technology change and automation and so forth in translation, really so much of the paradigm was still tied very much to what had gone on maybe the previous 2-3 decades, where it was very dependent on interacting with a live translator. There was a lot of humans handing things off, trying to prepare things so that the translator could just focus exclusively on translating. And there was just a lot of curation, a lot of hand touching, a lot of handoffs, and this just tended to make it so that this took a time. And also, interestingly enough, and I don't think this was really noticed as you go through it, like in most situations and living as humans, we notice it perhaps in hindsight that every time somebody handled this, getting it ready for the translator, often some type of error would be introduced, and not always, but it just made it so that there was often a large amount of rework. And about 8 years ago, we were rewriting our whole interface, and we were trying to roll that out and get it ready in language, and we just had a number of challenges with that. And it delayed it much longer than we wanted, and the user experience was not really what we had hoped for, and we really wanted to see what we could do to try and not only enhance the user experience, but even the internal experience. Depending upon the circumstances, a translation might take 2-3 weeks up to 2 or 3 months to return. And when you're running a public-facing application, it's just hard to have that kind of delay. And so you mentioned the developers and translators were not happy. Well, I don't think the users were happy. I don't think anybody was happy with how things were unfolding. And so, and at that time, we were focusing on 7 languages. And so we needed to find some way to kind of pivot away from that and see how we can maybe remove some of the rework challenges and also see if we could get it going quicker. So that was kind of where we were about 8-9 years ago.
Okay, good. All right, so now let's paint a picture of how things work. From our end, we are providing our localizer software, formerly known as Resource Manager. We are updating the name due to some research and wanting something a little bit more catchy. But in any case, maybe I let you talk a little bit about how the system works now.
Sure. Well, part of maybe even talking about how we got acquainted, we were in this situation where we needed to change, we needed to do things faster, better, stronger, leap tall buildings. We needed to do things differently. And so I came up with an initial design about how that would look. And to a large degree, the idea was to try and, so much of our translation at that time was probably more focused on print rather than digital or applications. And as such, there was a lot of hand curation. And depending upon the thing that was being translated, there was different standards that might apply. And so we did a couple of things. One, we decided to just go with the highest standards that were established at that point with the translation group that we were working with. And we wanted to take right directly, as much as possible, right from our repository, in this case, GitHub, and go directly to the translator and using the same standards. So we were hoping to try and bypass the hand curation that had been taking place, and we felt like that might be possible, and that was part of the experimentation. We wanted to find somebody who could help us put that software together, and through fate, we were able to engage with Lingoport, and working with their team, be able to create this custom experience of navigating from GitHub to the translator, and not only getting to the translator, but they could translate, do the review, get it all done, and then get it back, and then have it automatically put back into GitHub. Prior to that, we needed to have engineers who would package it up themselves, and then they would send it off, and then when they got it back, they'd get like, and then at that time they were getting 7 languages, and they'd have to copy and paste each language packet. And sometimes, because they didn't speak all the languages, inadvertently some of the languages, it would even get misplaced, and which caused, again, difficulty for our users. So doing this automated, we hope that that would eliminate that. And again, what we found is that handling it this way, getting it directly to the translators, and also we were sending it in smaller file batches, we could get a quick turnaround. We also set up a way that we curated the site a little differently than we had before. And all these things coming together with this automated format and solution, and dealing almost exclusively, the only humans that were really engaged in this were the translators. We were able to eliminate a lot of rework that had been introduced. We eliminated the engineers actually touching it all. Actually, we went from engineers being the key focus, and they were kind of the pivot point for everything related to translation, to not being involved at all. There are a couple of, we found that there were just a few hours a year that we might need to get some tweaks done by an engineer, but other than that, they just weren't involved. We found in that very first year, we were saving over 10,000 engineering hours in handling translation. And we were able to get people who were very skilled in handling this, but as we all know, engineers are the most expensive resource that you have often in a development environment. And so this lowered the cost of fixing things, as well as there were just a lot fewer things to fix. So this worked out real well, and this enabled us to go from, we kept adding more languages. We went from 7 to 9. Then we've gone to, and now all our material is currently in 30 languages, and going more. We have some portions of the experience in another 18 languages, but that's just going to continue to grow. And as we tell this story, I'll give you a little more detail.
Right. We're going to have a slide specifically on those differences to the organization. I'm going to just mention, one of the thing about automation that gets a knock, and this was not on our prepared script, but I'll throw it in, is like what happens when things go wrong, and like you had mentioned, in the before, it's like problems didn't happen all the time, but when they did, they distract. So let's talk a little bit about how, what if a file format is unacceptable or something like that?
Well, first of all, one of the things that's been great about this whole system, and part of this, I think, was developed by Lingoport. Maybe some of it are at our recommendation, but a lot of this stuff was already out of the box. There are filters that capture a lot of information as we send everything off. We do put a unique identifier on each string that is sent in for translation, and it is recorded what that string looks like as it's sent off. And as it comes back, it's then whatever the string with that number is then compared with with what was sent off. And if the software is off, well, then it's just set aside. And then we have somebody who manages that experience, and often they can just go in and see a bracket got knocked off in the process. Often in moving things around or just touching it at all, inadvertently, a bracket will get moved or erased, or a comma or some symbol is taken away, which makes it not the same, which really often you can't even find until you put it back and then you see it on the screen and say, hey, that's not working right. And so with these different things, we were able to get that fixed. And again, we didn't have to trouble the engineer who wrote the string, which previously we had to find the person, which again, not all engineering groups are, you know, we have a who's who of where they sit and so forth. So that took a little sleuthing. And so all that has been replaced with a lot of the work just being fixed by the person who's managing the system itself. So.
All right, cool, thanks. All right, you got into this a little bit, but let's talk about it some more. What is your organization saving in time and hassle?
Well, again, as I mentioned, first of all, the engineers are not involved, and I'll tell you, they really like that part. And I just even a side note is that one of the things because they liked handling this, so it was just lower on their favorite list. They often left it to the end or almost to deploy, which then if there was a problem, which often occurs in translation, we had almost no time to fix it because they'd left sending it off for translation so late in the process. So removing them was very helpful. So perhaps maybe just highlighting where we started and kind of where we're at today. When we got going with this, and one of the things that we wanted to do was improve the quality of the experience, and we did a number of different things with the review, which again was on our side, and we handled that in a very different, in a bit of a different way than we've been doing it before, and that seemed to really help us curate the site in a way where the quality got better and better. And one of the things that I thought was really curious, and actually I have some opinions on this, but even for a while I find it curious. You wouldn't think necessarily that this would be the case, but one of the things that we found is that as we got going on this and we improved the quality and these different things, and we were getting the translations back faster, we actually found that the cost of actually doing the translation for those 7 languages for that site actually went down. And it went down a third, which is not insignificant. In fact, that's not just some, you know, sometimes in large organizations where they say there's a savings, you know, it's really hard to track, or, you know, it's funny money or something. Well, this was actually real savings. We actually took that much money out of the translation budget and actually spent it on something else. And we've been doing that every year since the beginning. And so we really got a savings, which was delightful. And then the other thing that's interesting is that we just kept this process up. And again, we were able to do, you know, it's 5 days or less, or an average of 3 days for all the translation. And that's year in, year out. It doesn't matter the season. It doesn't matter the timing. We get that just 5 days or less. It's like clockwork. The other thing that is really interesting too, again, with this quality, as you do this, you improve the quality goes up. One of the things that, again, I can't quite put up my finger on all the things, but since then, when we first started, we started with 37 repositories or features or teams that submitted translation. Right now, we're at over 240 features. And we are not spending on those 9 languages, we're not spending any more money than we did 8 years ago. So we've got 7x increase in the amount of content we're managing and translation and maintaining and so forth. And we're not spending any more money than we did when we first implemented that process. And I find that to be great. I mean, obviously that's great.
That's amazing.
It's a nice thing. And I would like to say I fully understand exactly how all the features went. Again, I think it's a team effort. Our organization had to pull together and support this, but I also think it's the technology, and I think this process has worked well for us. And so the return on investment has been great, because if you take that, that I mentioned that there were 10,000 engineering hours saved with 7 languages and with 37 features. Now that we're at 240, you know, you can do some math, and I'm not going to get into all that you can, it's not hard to see that you get a multiple of that 10,000 engineering hours that in savings that, you know, has been able to not be focused on translation, not having to focus on rework, not focusing on adding more languages, because the engineers don't touch any of that as far as our translation goes. And they can then spend their time on developing features and trying to serve the users holistically. So it's
All right.
it's a good ROI.
Very good. Very good. You had this light switch analogy that I thought was kind of cool for any, you know, and it's a good paradigm for anything, really. But I wonder if you could explain that.
Sure. Actually, the idea is that we went from being the long pole and everybody was waiting and everybody's toe was tapping, waiting for translation, and that made it hard. And so that just more pressure and every delay for any real good, even a good reason was difficult. Anyway, so we moved to this system where it's just really automatic. The automation is really sweet. We've got all this stuff done. And so not only are we not the long pole, we're not even in second place. In fact, we've really become just not even an afterthought. And really, where you always want to be if you're a support group is like a utility. And when I say utility, I'm thinking like the lights in your office or your home. When you walk into a room, you turn on the switch, and the only emotion you have is that if it doesn't go on, then you're mad. But if it goes on, then you just go in and you just go on with your life and you just take it for granted. When in reality, the light switch, you know, there's a lot of wires in the building or your home to light up, you know, to string that light switch, and then it's tied to poles, and somebody had to, you know, get those trees and knock them down and haul them here and put them in the ground. And then you had to build a grid, and then you got to feed electricity to the grid with, you know, hydropower or wind power, and you got to build all that stuff. So there's all this mechanism to make the light switch be something that we don't have to think about. And I think that if you can move in a direction where you can offer a very valuable and vital resource and support, and do it and have it be framed as utility and something people only comment on is if it's not working. I think that's helpful, and that's really where we are now with our translation for our site. It's just something people don't think about.
I'm also going to just sort of give a plug here and mention there are a lot of people that I hear that have to sort of fight for globalization. And one thing that helps, and this is totally outside of systems, is that it's very clear with working with your organization that people are in alignment of working together to solve issues and to deliver a globalized product. And I will say that's always an important goal for any manager. And you always fight anything from politics to distraction to maybe translation in some organization being, sometimes some of them, people would complain it's an afterthought. And so if you can get your organization to really see the importance, it does help, and it really helps over time. It's a progression I've seen for you folks. All right. Let's talk a little bit about stakeholders. There are obviously different groups. How have things been received within the various communities that are a part of success?
Well, first of all, we've got great sponsors, and they've been very willing and eager to try and make the user experience as positive and delightful, actually, as possible. And that how that impacts me is that I'm helping manage localizing the language, the translation, even how the language appears. And so the sponsors have been very, very supportive of that and eager to, obviously we're growing in languages and so forth with their support. So they've been great. Users, I think in the earliness of all applications, users are always backseat driving, and the good news, I think they still have things they want us to change or enhance, but we're getting more plaudits, I think, particularly internationally, than we've had in the past, and so I think the users are feeling better. I think that internal teams, developers, and in-house translators play a key role. I would mention some names, but you wouldn't know who they were. But we really have some key people that help make this system work. And so I talk about automation, but we still need, you still always need those humans. Those humans, they're an important lot to make things work. And so we've got a good team. We've got people who are very sincere and dedicated. We also have got a volunteer community. We've just got a lot of very interesting things going on. We're very focused on automation. We're very focused on innovation, and our innovation is allowing us to grow and to be better. One of the things that we've got with our volunteer translation is that we've been working on it for a number of years. And we kind of had a breakthrough a few years ago where we started getting a number of teams operational, and for several years we were operating where we were doing about 2-3 million translated words a year, and now this year we're going to do 15 million, and the good news, that's not really reaching a plateau. We really now have, again, over the last little while, we've learned some things that is going to allow us to take that to, like, I think within 3 to 5 years we'll be at 50 million words or more. And part of that is adding more languages, but we just have a lot of volume, and with the lower cost of translation in that way, it allows us to be able to have more and let people be able to manage that more directly. So.
All right. Just a couple of minutes left here. Maybe just talk a little bit about the vision going forward.
Sure. I mentioned about automation and innovation, but really part of where we want to go is scale. I think those are the three key things that we focus on, and this idea of scaling. So this whole thing started off talking about increasing the number of languages, but where we really want to go, a lot of times we want to be in more languages. Yes, we want to be in dialects. We want to be in, actually we'd like to be in as many languages as we can. We'd like dialects as we can. A lot of times when organizations are looking at languages, they're looking at what languages do we need to be in that country or that culture. We really are looking at this, and again, it gets back to our sponsors and it gets back to our relationship with our users. We really are focusing on individuals and on families, and this goes for a global, from a global perspective. And so we're not just interested in taking this so that a country or culture can be able to have these experiences in a particular language. We're really looking to help an individual family be able to do the research that they need to, or find out more about their family in the language of that family, whatever that language is. And we kind of call it a little bit of a Wikipedia model, but we really want to create an ecosystem that allows people to do that. And where we're going from here is we're going broader and larger and broader with the volunteer translators. We're getting into MT in a way that is so interesting, and we've got some insight where we think we found some innovation that is going to allow us to increase the quality quite significantly in machine translation out of the box. We've got a new way that we're going to be interfacing locally and providing more of the experience itself, and letting local groups be able to manage the family search experience itself. So we've got a lot of things that we're doing, and again, it's to try and serve that family at the family level wherever they are, and that's really our vision.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have actually finished within our recommended time period. We're going to go to questions, which we'll perform live. I'm going to leave this up just for a second. If you don't get a chance to ask a question, or if you're seeing this after the live event or not in parallel, we are both available for any questions you might have. Happy to help things along. Thanks a lot, Rob. Always a pleasure
Yeah.
to speak with you. Thanks for making this recording, make yourself available. And I guess we're about to speak to you all live. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.